Hello, bowling fans. This is Dustin J. Markowitz coming to you, wow, in front of a live studio audience here at Riverside Lanes in beautiful Laughlin, Nevada, the gem along the Colorado River, for our first show taping of Bowling Evolved video Vodcast. Pretty impressive, huh, Eric?
You're still talking to me.
Yes,
we still do this.
It's been a few months, I know that. But ladies and gentlemen, join me as always is my partner in crime. He's a 5-time PBA national champion, a millionaire on the PBA tour. And you know what? Just one heck of a nice guy. The one and only Eric Forkel. Eric, yeah, we're still here.
Can you say the millionaire one more time?
A millionaire on the PBA tour.
Yeah. I don't have it.
You're ranked what? 37th for all-time earnings or something like that?
Somewhere down there, yeah.
Somewhere down there. Well, if anything, you made more money than Dick Weber did in his career.
Okay.
That's an interesting factoid.
I'm sorry, Dick.
Yeah.
Dick's listening. I'm sorry that Dustin said that.
Hey, well, you know. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is fantastic to be here in front of you. We've had one heck of a ride, Eric. I know that without the support of our fans, we would not be here videotaping and podcasting today. And I have to say, on behalf of everyone involved with Bowling Evolved, thank you so much for making this all possible.
Yeah, it's great. We normally have like 3 or 4 fans. Now we're up to like 7 or 8, and we don't have to pay them to come in. They just come in. We give them free food.
Free food, yeah, absolutely. We're good. We're not that good.
Not yet. We got a new fan.
Absolutely. Definitely want to say thank you to Luke Thornhill and Thornhill Graphics for designing this for us, and the Riverside Resort for putting it in production. Of course, we do have a new title sponsor, Don Laughlin's Riverside Lanes here in Laughlin, Nevada. Really fantastic that they are giving us the opportunity to do this show.
Yeah, I think it's great. The gem along the Colorado River.
Absolutely. I've been doing this for a long time, I remember. It's been a while, but I still remember.
It's a gem. I get it.
But you know what, guys? Let's jump right into it. We have some tremendous guests on the way, and we can sit here and talk about all the wonderful things forever. But our very first guest is our newest Bowling Evolved staff member. She is the back-to-back Women's Senior U.S. Open champion. She is also the owner and founder of the WBA, the one, the only, Paula Vidad.
Where is she? Oh, there she is.
Paula!
Look who just dropped in.
Hi, guys.
Welcome. Welcome to our little soiree.
Well, thank you very much for having me. This is exciting.
I'm very happy you were able to make the trip down here. How was the drive?
Wonderful.
I'm glad to hear that.
Wonderful. Only 2 hours.
That's about Eric's drive to work, and actually, maybe I'm right a little closer, but but let's jump right into it. You know, Paula, you just came off winning the 2014 Senior U.S. Open. Obviously, you're heavily involved with women's bowling in general. What do you think of the state of women's bowling right now, and what do you see going on out there?
Well, it's very discouraging. The women's tour ended in 2003, and that's 11 years ago. And it's a very sad state that no one has stepped up. I started the Women's Bowling Alliance only because the California State Tournament stopped having a Women's Queens Tournament. So I stepped up, and then we actually had our first tournament in Las Vegas where we called it the Tri-State. And we had California, Nevada, and Arizona. And then other people wanted to bowl, and then it started blossoming into other things. And we've had about 7 tournaments now with some pretty good money. And I'm working on a tournament now with Todd Molbeck from High Five, looking to do a tournament in Wisconsin, November, second week of November. And it's a long, tough process, and getting sponsorship is the most difficult thing. And being as busy as I am, I'm almost like a chicken with no head, running around, just going everywhere, doing everything, bowling, running a bowling center, and trying to get as many tournaments as we can for the women. It's just very difficult. I
can imagine. Of course, we do have some good news as well. Riverside Lanes is going to be hosting a WBA doubles event, which I know Eric and I are both going to be a part of. Mixed doubles. Let me clarify that. I don't think Eric will look that good in the skirt, but
how do you know?
Anyway, moving on. Let's go back. But yeah, we have the mixed doubles coming up, and tell us a little bit about that tournament. What can we expect?
Very excited. It's a very competitive tournament, and back in the day, we used to have at least 4 of them. It was 2 up north and 2 down south, and then it became then Yorba Linda Lanes closed, and Kings Bowl closed, and Stockton stopped having it. So then it ended up being just 1 tournament, and so we're trying to revive that mixed doubles again. And we've got some pretty big names coming. Eric's coming, and with Darius Ruffner, that's going to be a pretty tough team. We had a mixed doubles at my bowling center during Valentine's Day, which we're going to host again, and they weren't able to make it, and we were kind of lucky because that was a pretty tough team. I think we probably would have been 1-2, not to diss any other teams, but us 1 and you 2, of course. But
Of course. That's okay.
He used to be a pretty good player back in the day. I don't know so much anymore, but you know.
I still have my moments.
I'm very happy to say I'll be down there as well. Jackie Wyckoff will be coming in. We'll be bowling together, which I'm really looking forward to. Now, there is limited spots available for this tournament, if I'm not mistaken.
yes, there is limited to 68 teams. It is a 1 squad only at 10 a.m. And then 1 and 4 will make it to the finals on Sunday. And then it will be match play and bonus picks.
Well, I think it's great that the tournament's coming here to Riverside. I mean, it's always a great place to bowl at, and of course, a great place to gamble at as well.
Plug.
Another shameless plug, but it's true. It's just a good all-around. People come from California, Arizona, wherever. We're glad to have this place. It's great.
It's been a blessing for everyone involved, and I know I bowled here, and I was tournament coordinator here for 5 years, and I just loved it. And you know, of course, my dad Brian and his entire staff have been nothing but nepotism. Just a little, no. But it's been a wonderful experience for everybody. And what was the date on that tournament as well?
For the tournament?
The mixed doubles.
The mixed doubles is the 22nd, 23rd.
22nd, 23rd, and they can of course see that on your website.
Yes, it's on womensbowlingalliance.com or WBA Bowling. It's also on Facebook, and we're looking forward to it.
Pro-Am? We're going to do a Pro-Am as well?
The plan, I believe, is to do a Pro-Am, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Some sort of Pro-Am would be nice.
Friday. Yes.
That'd be great.
Wonderful.
So it's almost going to have a professional feel to it, even though it's not really a professional term, but there'll be a lot of professional bowlers bowling in it.
Quite a few.
So that's great.
Well, here's a question that comes up, and it's something we've talked about before. Obviously, the PBA has changed a lot over the last 10 to 15 years, like everything else. To me, I look at the WBA as a professional organization. It might not necessarily be the PBA, but to me, that's still professional women's bowling.
Yes, but on a very mild scale.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we don't have a lot of very few tournaments at this point, only because I don't have the time. I actually want to find people that hold existing tournaments throughout the United States. They have the one event a year and make an event. And, you know, whether it has a WBA name to it or doesn't have to, then we could just put them in the right direction and make sure that the big name women come bowl the tournament and have added money. And it's just all about everybody getting together and making it an event. So we could actually have 12 tournaments a year by having people that are willing to put it together in those individual areas.
It's almost surprising. There's something that goes out to whoever's watching this right now. Are you interested in have women's professional bowling or a version of women's professional bowling? Why don't you get a contact with the WBA? Why not? I think that's one of the biggest problems facing bowling in general is that not enough people are acting on what's available out there. There's a lot of great tournaments, organizations, individuals, but they're just not getting the support that they really do deserve.
Right. No, I completely agree. And I think it's not a lack of communication, but there's no one base for people to communicate.
Well, I know in the past some people have come forward and have promised us some things, and there was some big news that was hopefully going to happen, and it just didn't pan out, which I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
Very, very
I'm sure
disappointing.
That's very disappointing. That's like getting your hopes up really big and this, and that, and all of a sudden the rug gets pulled away. That's got to be a little, that's extremely disappointing and kind of depressing. And it's amazing that you continue to push forward and move on with this, because after something like that had happened, a lot of people would just say, I'm not doing this anymore. This is a joke.
Right. Well, it was very disheartening because, you know, I did get very excited, met with them in Las Vegas, and then to not come to fruition after they told me to go ahead and announce it, and then it's like egg on my face. I was very embarrassed because it's putting my name on the line, and then, you know, just things happen, but you continue to go on, and hopefully other people will step up.
That was, as anyone that's listened to our audio show knows, we were one of the first press releases on that, and for us, we love you, Paula. We love everything WBA does. That's why we have you, of course, on our Bowling Evolved staff, and we're so thrilled to be associated with you in that way. I can only hope and wish that another organization would be willing and able to step up. And of course, Riverside has being a host for a tournament. But my best wishes would be to have that happen in the future because, again, there's so much great stuff that you do that it's just no one else is doing right now.
Right.
Plain simple.
I appreciate it. And I have talked to a couple of retired NBA executives that really wanted to step up and do something with the Women's Bowling Tour. And they started researching it, and they just said, well, there's nothing that we could really do for you because we don't see, and it would be getting tough to get sponsors. And that's very difficult because we rely so much on the bowling industry sponsors, and I'm sure it gets kind of old to them to continue to do it, but to go out, that's even more difficult.
Do you think that it would be easier to go after the local sponsors as opposed to a national sponsor and try to go tournament to tournament as opposed to someone sponsoring a whole tour?
Well, yes, and some of the good ideas that came out of this other organization was they were looking to do a lot of things with the organizations that are within the area, like you said, the local sponsorships, because that's what they're looking for. You don't want national sponsorships because it's not going to do it within that area. So, yes, but then also charities. And that was their main thing, was maybe doing some charity, looking for charities to do some pro-ams and raise money towards that. And to be able to donate money to these charities, and they write it off as for their tax purposes. So there was quite a few good ideas that came out of the organization, but it's a matter of implementing it. Like I said, if we do certain cities, and then you go after maybe companies like Curves or a lot of women's organizations or companies that are right within the area that would do advertising for their business.
Well, I know I would do a lot of good Curves, so. Well, let's talk about something a little bit more positive now. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of
positive.
Yeah, bowling and positive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we all would agree. There's a lot of quote-unquote negative in bowling right now. It's very easy to get kind of depressed at the state of bowling. But let's talk about you as a bowler yourself. Going out, again, you just won the 2014 Senior U.S. Open back-to-back, which is absolutely incredible. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Talk about your experiences doing that and what you're seeing. I mean, because obviously the mentality of having fun out on the lanes is still there. There's still the drive to want to be a great bowler.
Yes, always. And, I'm a competitive person. And, you just said, how do you keep going? It's because I am a competitive person. If I don't continue to go, then that means they win. And women's bowling loses. So just like in the bowling, I love to compete. I love to go out of town. I love to just get on the lanes and see all the people that I don't get to see all the time and have lifelong friendships that I've met 30 plus years ago. And just to be able to go out on the lanes, have all your worries and troubles that you have, just put them aside and just see the lane and think about what you're doing and go out and get it. And I hope to be competing when I'm 70 years old.
Well, you're only, 25 right now?
Yes.
I learned well, Mom.
I found the fountain of youth. Yes,
that's okay. Eric, if I may ask for you as well, do you kind of feel the same way that on obviously the male side of it, going out and still competing is the drive to be competitive that keeps you going in bowling?
Yeah, I think so. I've always been that way, and when you have some success, whether it's in the past or the present, it gives you something to feed off of. And I still like to compete, even against the kids. You try to beat them. You can't always beat them, of course, but I still like to get out there and play. I mean, I still enjoy the game. Even though it's changed quite a bit. Everything has changed about it. It's still 60 feet and 10 pins, and go out there and try to do the best you can to win. I mean, it's still there's no better. Winning never gets old, no matter how old you get. So even though I am getting older, I had a birthday coming up this month anyway, but that's okay. You still like to compete, and whether it was 20 years ago or 10 years ago or right now, I still enjoy it. And when you get the chance to still win, that's even better.
Well, I always remember our late friend Barry Gurney. I mean, showing up at the Laughlin Cup and at 71, if I'm not mistaken, 71 years young, making the TV match play finals. That was an incredible feat against guys like David Haynes and Mr. Jonathan Farrell, who ended up winning. I mean, that's
just like my good friend Dick Baker. He's in his early 70s, very competitive because he loves to compete, keeps himself in good shape, especially for his age. And he loves it, and he's very good. I mean, just because you get older doesn't mean you're going to bowl worse. I mean, it's not bowling. That's one of the beautiful parts of bowling. You can be older, if you keep yourself in good shape, like obviously Paula does, she works out, she trains. And if you keep yourself in good shape, you can bowl until you're 70, 80 years old.
Competitively bowl.
As competitively as possible, sure. You know, but and that's the great part about our game sport of bowls.
So let's close out with this, Paula. If you had a young bowler, obviously we have a big emphasis on the youth programs and kids coming up into the sport. And Eric, same question to you as well. If you had a kid come up to you and say, "Hey, I want to be a pro bowler, and I want to know one piece of advice that would help me succeed in pro bowling," what would it be?
One piece of advice? Ooh, that's a tough one.
Well, besides, don't do it.
No. Try golf.
No, I would say follow your dreams. If that's your dream, regardless of what people tell you, it may not be what it once was, but for them, it may be the greatest thing there is for them. So go after it. Chase your dreams. You only live once. So whether it wasn't like it was maybe back in the day, it still is what it is right now. I would never deter anyone from saying, I want to be a professional bowler, because if kids have that kind of a dream, that's what's going to create the future. If kids aren't excited about bowling in general or professional bowling, then what's it all about? So that's really what it needs to be. They should get excited over it. They should still, whether they're excited over a Chris Barnes or a Jason Belmonte or a Parker Bone or whatever, if they even remember Parker Bone. I remember Parker Bone, of course. But the point I'm getting at is that's what's important. The youth, they got to get excited over bowling so they can want to do it. It's like anything else. If you don't get excited over it, you're not going to do it.
Oh, completely agree. I would have to say, give it your best. You have to be able to give all your effort, and after you give all your effort and it doesn't work out, then you can say you gave your best. That's all you can do. But my greatest victories are when I teach the very young kids at my bowling center, and they can keep it on the lane, and they actually hit the pins without getting bumpers. And then they get excited because then now they want to get a spare.
Maybe you can
and
help
the next
Dustin
one
with that.
Yeah. Bumpers? With bumpers?
Well, maybe keep three bumpers.
Okay, just three.
Just
three. That's our next tournament.
That's our next tournament.
Bumpers for Dustin.
Well, I do know, as both of you, I work with the kids as well, and there is something very pure and very exciting, and we'll have a guest in a future show talk a little bit more about the youth bowling as well, but there's something very, I guess, humbling to see someone that's brand new to the sport succeed, because it's something a lot of bowlers have lost, in my opinion. I've read about it, and we've talked about it, but I would highly recommend anyone that is a bowler and has a little free time, go watch the youth program and go see some of these kids that are just getting started, because there's something very unique about that mentality, and it's a beautiful thing to watch. It really is.
That's the future. Without them, the game stops. So we have to have it.
Well, I'm being signaled by my producer. We got to cut to our first commercial break. Again, we've been sitting with the beautiful Paula Vidad. The website is womensbowlingalliance.com.
Yes.
For all the future news on the Women's Bowling Alliance, or of course you can check out our website, bowlingevolved.com, our first shameless plug of the new show. And of course, riversideresort.com will have the home of Bowling Evolved with new tournament information. So Paula, thank you very much for joining us.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for joining us here.
Okay. Stick around. When we come back, we'll have a little news with the director of Riverside Lanes, Brian Markowitz, right after.